In this video, we're going to look at some modern taxonomy. We're going to look at some of the technology that has helped form modern taxonomy, as well as our modern use of the fossil record and how this gives us an increased understanding of the evolution of life. So firstly, when Linnaeus came up with his theory of taxonomy, evolution hadn't been proposed as a theory. It wasn't until little less than 100 years later that Darwin proposed the theory of evolution. And this gave us a better understanding of taxonomy in that we could now see that the groups or taxa were showing relationships between organisms. And this evidence was supported by the fossil record. We also have developed radio dating techniques, which gave us absolute dating of fossils. So we were able to, from this absolute dating, be able to further track the fossil record throughout the ages, as well as evolution, allowing to better classification of organisms both past and present. The invention and development of microscopes, and later leading to the development of cell theory, allowed us to better understand taxonomy and how things were related to each other by looking at them on a scale that was previously impossible for us to do. And it's also led to technologies such as comparative embryology, looking at the embryonic development of different animals and showing relationships between those in utero. DNA sequencing has been a huge technology that only in the last 20-ish years has given us some real insights into the way that we classify things and how closely different things are related. So for example, humans, 98.8% have the same DNA as chimpanzees, and 98.7% have the same DNA as the bonobo. Now, if you look at the chimpanzee and the bonobo, they have about a 99.7% between them. So this shows us that the chimpanzee and the bonobo are very closely related to each other. However, humans are then very closely related to the chimpanzee and the bonobo. So therefore, we must have shared some common ancestor not too long ago in the past. The fossil records provided some great evidence for both evolution and informing our taxonomical system that comes from that evolution. However, unfortunately, one of the downsides of the fossil record is that when fossils are found, often it might be only a couple of bones that are found, so there isn't enough detail, or the organism can be incomplete, and this can lead to problems in correctly classifying things. A particular problem that we have here is when assembling fossils, assembling them to look like life that is currently alive on Earth, often incorrectly. So classification and the study of taxonomy gives us an increased understanding of life around us. So it's not just putting things in boxes and giving those boxes a name. It shows the evolutionary relationships between the organisms. And as I said before, we've been able to use in particular DNA sequencing to show that the humans are very closely related to the chimpanzee and the bonobo, and less related to the gorillas, while the chimp and bonobo are quite closely related to each other. So we've got this increased understanding of relationships between organisms, as well as the evolution from a common ancestor, and perhaps in particular looking at mitochondrial DNA, how long ago that divergence between the ancestors was. Having this better understanding leads to a better understanding of biodiversity and how many organisms are around and the difference between the organisms and how those organisms interact with their environment. And this better understanding of biodiversity can lead to the conservation and the maintenance of that biodiversity. In this video, we've looked at some of the new technology that has informed taxonomy and moved some things around. We've looked at the fossil record, which has provided some wonderful evidence, however, has its problems with classifying based on fossils, and how taxonomy can lead to an increased understanding of the evolutionary relationships between the organisms we find around us.